This is a GE signature assignment for ECON. My name is Vaishant Vandanapu.
My name is Christian Lazaro.
The $1.77 trillion crisis, student loan debt. This is an economic analysis of student loan debt by me, Vaishant, and Christian. 43 million Americans experience and carry student loan debt. The average American carries over $37,000 of student loan debt. This short video shows how student loan debt actually affects someone in their day-to-day life and their changes and their experiences and what they invest in.
Student loans, $37,313.
Yes, sir.
Is that deferred?
Well, until right now, yeah.
Oh, plan on that.
They're at 4%, though. Minimum monthly payments, so I feel like it's a waste of $37,000 to just throw it at it if I get average 10 point whatever with dividend invested in the S&P 500 on average.
Wouldn't this be nice just to wipe out?
Once you pay them off?
I probably would. Because financially, yes, you could arbitrage.
This shows how a real American who carries student loan debt over $30,000 chooses to keep that student loan debt and invest in the S&P 500 that has more interest rate and more return on investment rather than just paying it upfront. This shows how student loan debt has a toll and has an actual effect on an average American's day-to-day life.
A debt crisis that doesn't affect everyone equally. The U.S. debt is at $1.7 trillion. This is more than the entire GDP of Australia. There are over 43 million student loan borrowers. That is roughly 1 in 8 Americans. Black borrowers owe an average of $25,000 more than a white person 4 years after graduation, but women hold nearly 2/3 of that student loan debt. Borrowers from low-income families are most likely to default from not having the funds to pay back those loans on the time that was posted. The problem just isn't personal. This affects the whole economy.
Supply and demand in higher education, especially college and university. Supply in this situation is defined as a limited number of spots at top universities. The supply is relatively fixed as universities and colleges don't tend to change the amount of undergraduates and applicants they allow to enter into their institute from year to year. The demand is defined as more students than ever want a college degree. This is a credential that's required by many jobs in this workforce and this economy at this time. A college degree is not only seen as a luxury in these days, but it's seen as a necessity, something that people need to expand their horizon and expand their ability to be better in the workforce and in their job that they're in. When demand rises faster than supply, prices skyrocket. This is what's causing the high student loan debt. As more demand and the same amount of supply, the prices for tuition and housing are rapidly increasing, causing the student loan debt to also rapidly increase. Price elasticity of demand is low, as students keep enrolling even as prices rise. And a degree now, as I said previously, is seen as a necessity rather than just a luxury commodity that people had.
Is college worth it? College is an investment on human capital. You can pay now, you can earn more later in the future. But the opportunity cost, the value to give up something to have another thing. You give up 4 years of your time. That 4 years of full-time wages, that can value over $120,000. You also give up freedom and work experience. But college graduates earn $1 million than a person who doesn't have a degree. But this hides inequality. This can entirely depend on the degree, income, and major and school. And also for low-income and minority students, the debt burden can outweigh the return. So if they didn't pick the right career, they may never pay back those student loan debts.
When millions can't spend, the whole economy slows down. Aggregate demand is defined as the total spending in an economy by consumers, businesses, and the government. Borrowers with high debt tend to spend less on housing, cars, and all these luxury commodities. With the high debt that they have, they tend to spend less on these goods that they don't really need. They decrease their consumer spending, which slows down the economy as a whole. The multiplier effect, this shows it. It's reduced consumer spending that ripples through. When one person spends less, this causes another person to earn less, affecting the entire economy, not just an individual. The home ownership rate for adults under 35 has rapidly decreased as more and more people are increasing their student loan debt, causing them to not want to add on to their debt with home owner and mortgage rates. and student loan debt holders are less likely to start businesses and invest in the stock market. This reduces long-run GDP growth and wealth accumulation, especially for these younger generations that continue to hold on these student loan debts while not investing into the stock market, real estate, or anything else.
Externalities in the case for government action. Externalities, a cost or benefit that falls on people that were not involved into the action. Education produces positive externalities. A higher income, higher tax revenue, lower crime, and a stronger democracy. Because society benefits from educated workers, the free market tends to underproduce education. Not telling people like, oh, you don't need to go to school to be successful in life, but to invent something, you need to go to school. You have to have those skills and abilities. This is called market failure, where the private market produces less than a socially optimal amount. But government interventions can help student loans and student debts. For subsidies, public universities, or grants. But these grants don't come from nowhere, they have to come from somewhere. And moral hazard. Banks see how desperate students want to go to school, so they will give out these loans for extremely high interest rates, but make it seem good on paper, when it really is not. It's just affecting the student more and driving them more into debt.
Student loan debt has exponentially exploded since 2006. This graph from Shred shows student loan debt that was at a mere $480 billion in 2006 to rise over to $1.77 trillion in 2024. The growth accelerated sharply after the 2008 recession as more students wanted to enter into colleges and universities to gain that hands-on experience and that higher education to be able to jump into the workforce and gain more revenue and more net worth. Additionally, this brief pause in 2020 to 2022 shows COVID. It represents the change in the economy during COVID, but debt resumed growing once payments restarted. This shows that debt is not only a political and financial issue, but also a social concern as well.
Key terms that we're using in this presentation: supply and demand. With the supply being those universities giving out these degrees, and the demand being these students wanting these degrees. And when the supply and demand meet, is called the equilibrium, where it cancels out, or do they just meet? Price elasticity of demand. If the price changes, people will change as well. So if the price for a degree is high, people will change. Well, they're gonna look at other options, or they just won't go for that career. Opportunity cost. The alternative you give up when you make any decisions. So when you go to college, you're giving up 4 years of your time and over $120,000 in full-time wages. Also, externality, a cost or benefit experienced by a third party not directly involved in a transaction. Like with those grants. Those have to come from somewhere. Those come from American taxpayer dollars. They're not coming from nowhere. So this also affects the American taxpayers. And aggregate demand, the total demand for goods and services in the economy given at a time and price level. So if the economy wants more workers, the university was like, all right, we're gonna give you more workers. But if they can't produce that, this would just really decrease the demand.
Lastly are our sources. We were able to pull articles from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, the Education Data Initiative, Hansen N., the Average Student Loan Debt Education Data Initiative, Bennett W. and J. R. Greedy Colleges, the New York Times, Looney A. E. and LSC, A Crisis in Student Loans, the National Center for Education Statistics, Digest of Education Statistics, and the U.S. Department of Education. As well, we were able to provide a graph from Fred. Thank you.